Hi everyone. This is week 3 of Society and the Individual. This week we're going to be talking about gender and sexuality and thinking about gender and sexuality in terms of majority and minority groups. Let's talk first about the assignments for week 3. I want you to review chapters 5 and 8 in your text, New World Reader. As always, check out those fabulous TED Talks videos that I posted in Moodle and think about them. And when you look at them, have an open mind and try to think about it from a sociological perspective. Forum, as always, your initial response is going to be due Thursday at midnight, and your response to 2 peers will be due Sunday at midnight. This week, we're going to go back to the top learning points. Again, you're going to want to download the worksheet and complete all the columns. That will be due Sunday at midnight. This week, we will have a paper that is due Sunday by midnight called Think Like a Sociologist. And so basically, there is an article by a sociologist named Karen Sternheimer, and it is titled How to Think Like a Sociologist. So I want you to go and read that, and she gives very simple tips of when you look at a source or when you look at a situation, how to think about it from a sociological perspective. And so after you've read her article, I want you to choose a source. And I've listed some suggestions for you in the syllabus. If you want to choose something outside of these sources, please email me in advance to get it approved. And then watch the series, watch the movie, and then I want you to answer questions based on that source. This actual paper does not need to be in an essay format. You can go ahead and respond to the questions that I put in there and number them and then answer them completely. I'm looking for about 2 to 3 written pages. I do want to caution you that this is not a paper that you should be using I. This is more of a research paper, and so I only want you to use third person, which means he, she, it, they. Since you're going to be using a source to write the paper on, it is expected that you have at least one in-text citation, since you're going to be referring to a movie or referring to something, and that means that you must have a works cited page. Remember, if it's one source, it's works cited. If it's multiple sources, it's works cited. Okay, so if you have any questions, please let me know throughout the week. So here's just a quick little exercise to kind of get you thinking like a sociologist. So I'm going to use suicide as a way to talk about this. I understand it is a very sensitive, very serious topic. I hope that this exercise will help you understand kind of as a sociologist or as a study of sociology, what we do to find patterns in everyday life. So here is a number of suicides, over 41,000 in America in the year of 2013. And so what they did is there's lots of charts, and they have this association, American Association of Suicidology, has said that white males have the highest rate, but black females have the lowest rates. So when I teach this on ground on a campus, we have a discussion about, let's go ahead and generalize. Why is it that white males might have the highest rate in 2013 and black females have the lowest rate of suicide in 2013? And so people may talk about, white males are under pressure or feel societal pressure to, make the most money and, to have kind of keep up with the Joneses. And some people in class have said on the converse that black females have a strong sense of family, and if maybe there's more black females that are head of household, and so if they're caring for small children, then there's this feeling, that they don't want to end their life because people are relying on them. So again, generalizations, but that's how we start this process. And then some other interesting statistics is Montana has the highest rate of suicide in 2013, but New Jersey has the lowest rate. So again, in class, I would ask people, or I'd ask you watching this video, what do you think is different between Montana and New Jersey of why the rates would be on either side of the spectrum? And some students might say, well, in Montana, it tends to be more rural. There aren't a lot of big cities, so people may be more isolated. The weather may have an impact of, how often people get out and see other people. In New Jersey, there may be a lot of social services or community services available for people. it's much more populous. So again, this is just a small exercise to show you. If you wanted any other information, I did include my works cited, so you can go to the website to look at these things for yourself. Okay, so in terms of thinking like a sociologist, we're going to talk about sexuality and gender. And I realize again that this is also a very sensitive topic, and there's a lot of people who have certain value systems. But again, we're looking at this from a social science perspective, and we're also looking at it in terms of minority and majority groups, as we've already discussed. So sex, again, obviously refers to physical or physiological differences between males and female. We know that there's primary sex characteristics and secondary characteristics. But kind of what goes into that also on another thing is gender. And that's really a kind of internal perception of how a person feels, whether they're male or female, which then leads to another big topic about sexual orientation. We understand, or we have talked, we know that there's more of a spectrum than there is just heterosexuality. We know that there are people who identify as homosexuality, bisexuality, and even asexual, and also transsexual. And so, again, this is interesting. There's a lot of societal, understandings about how this all plays out. But in our American society, we are considered heteronormative, which means that we assume that most individuals, most sexual orientation is biological determined, and it's ambiguous. And of course, the fact that people are heterosexual. And so our society is shaped in having conversations and having commercials or magazines that shows heterosexuality couples and relationships and families. Of course, in 2015, there's been a lot of legislation that has changed, and we're going to start seeing a difference in that heteronormative society. But traditionally and throughout history, the American society has been heteronormative. And so what this also means is that based on gender, again, male or female, people fall into specific categories, and that those specific categories complement each other. And so a lot of individuals may feel that these roles are considered rigid, and meaning that they're not fluid. So if we're thinking throughout time and history in American society, let's think of the 1960s. The man went out and worked and earned the money, and the woman stayed home, cared for the children, and did the household chores and cooked. And that is a very good example of a heteronormative society where people fell into their roles and they complemented each other. But really, let's think about this from a sociologically speaking, is, can a woman be physically strong? Of course. And can a man be physically beautiful? Of course. And so just by knowing that there are people who don't fit into these nice little boxes, it challenges our perceptions, it challenges our stereotypes, and of course it's going to lead to some discussion. So continuing on this, gender roles. Basically, this is how men and women are expected to behave. So again, you may think of, that there's a masculine person, then you think of, words that might come to your mind are strength, aggression, and dominance, and feminine roles are passive and nurturing and, subordinate. And so as young children, we kind of learn this socialization at birth. Now I think that the toy stores are getting very good about being more gender neutral, but 10, 15 years ago, you used to be able to walk into a toy store and know that the pink is for the girls and the blue is for the boys. And you could tell the toy was targeted for a specific audience just by looking at the colors and the people presented on the front. That socialization starts as that young. Even think about what people say to young children, how we dress them. You can see that the heteronormative society is perpetuated, from birth and all the way up throughout middle school and grade school. And so when people fall outside of those roles, okay, a man being strong and aggressive or female being passive and nurturing, when people take on with the roles or the characteristics of the other side, then there's conflict, and then people aren't as comfortable with that. Okay, so kind of moving forward, gender stratification refers to unequal access, just basically, social resource because of their gender. And so this next section I'm going to talk about. So if I didn't mention it before, anything that is not heterosexual is considered a minority group. So homosexuals, bisexuals, asexuals, transsexuals. And again, I really want you to think about it from how society teaches us about these things, how it can be, how it conflicts sometimes with mainstream America, and why is it really that these certain groups are minority groups. Thinking like a sociologist again, let's go back into gender stratification. So divisions of labor and gender roles are certainly tied together. And you can think about your own household, think about your household over Thanksgiving, over Christmas, who's in the kitchen, who's playing with the kids, who's doing that. And maybe you have the traditional sense of, the females are doing the household chores and the males are taking over some different roles. But all societies classify work by gender. Okay, first world countries, second world, third world, there is a specific classification. And there's certain roles based on that classification, depending on if you're male or female. And so when these patterns appear throughout all societies, it's called a cultural universal. And I think that's really interesting to think about. Some statistics that I wanted to bring in to show you that in today's society, even in America, women are considered a minority group. And here is, I have some statistics from the U.S. Census Bureau in 2010 that men vastly outnumber women in authoritative, powerful, and high-earning jobs. We've known that for a while, and that women still generally only make 77 cents for every dollar made by a male counterpart. And yet, on an average day, 84% of women spend their time doing household management activities. So this just goes to show you, just some of the statistics or information that are out there that you can find to understand and support the notion that women are still considered a minority group. So your challenge this week is to continue to think about how sexuality and gender really does, and how society kind of boxes us, and what happens when we fall outside of that box, and really, how is our society changing now in 2015 with all the things that have been happening over the last couple of years in these realms. So with that, I think that brings me to the end of my presentation. So I look forward to seeing everybody next Monday for the next lecture. If you need anything throughout the week, please contact me, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Thanks. Bye.